dream up for that perfect deck, pergola, or outdoor kitchen, Rob and his family can build it. Excel Custom Decks, decking excellence by design. Visit excelcustomdecks.com today.
You can't beat Burkhart.
New Berlin and Fox Point.
1 week later, and the Bucks and Lakers are back at it again.
Brooke Lopez with his third block. Giannis goes rumbling the other way, lays it in with a foul through contact.
Our matchup in LA begins tonight at 9. We are your home for the Milwaukee Bucks. News Radio 620 WTMJ Milwaukee.
Coming up at 9:01, it's 31 degrees. Today, gradual clearing with afternoon sunshine, but it will be windy, a high of 38. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Tiff Pua. A jury is expected to have a verdict this afternoon in a federal civil case against a former Wauwatosa police officer and the city's insurance provider.
Joseph Mensah killed 3 persons of color in the span of 5 years on the force, all of which were deemed justified. One of those killed was Alvin Cole, a teenager shot by Mensah during a foot chase in 2020 that sparked protests in the city. Cole's parents filed the lawsuit in 2021, alleging Mensah used excessive force and that the department embraces and promotes racism. Mensah resigned from the department in 2020 and now works for the Waukesha County Sheriff's Department. He is facing no criminal charges in this trial. Adam Roberts, WTMJ News.
A third suspect in the death of a man outside the Hyatt Regency Hotel in downtown Milwaukee last year is expected to enter a plea today. Devin Johnson Carson was working at the hotel front desk when investigators say Devontae Mitchell entered the women's bathroom and was one of the 4 men to pin Mitchell to the ground outside the hotel. The medical examiner determined that Mitchell died by, quote, restraint asphyxia and toxic effects of cocaine and meth. Earlier this month, both Brandon Turner and Herbert Williamson entered their own plea deals. A fourth suspect, Todd Erickson, heads to trial later this summer. Investigators lay out the accusations against a Milwaukee man who is accused of sexually assaulting women in his home.
2 women accuse 38-year-old Austin Chronister of luring them online, lying to them that he's into BDSM, and once they visit, they find out later that most sex acts are not consensual. Prosecutors say the victims were not allowed to say no to sex parties with the suspect's friends and family in the basement sex dungeon. Chronister is now facing charges that include human trafficking and sexual assault, which could put him behind bars for more than 100 years. Julia Fellow, WTMJ News.
The 2 women also accused the man of branding them, making them wear collars in their home, and changing their last names. The Trump administration is facing a federal judge's deadline to provide information about last week's deportation flights and whether they violated the judge's order. ABC's Mary Bruce reports from Washington.
The court giving the Trump administration until noon to turn over information about those hasty deportation flights carrying hundreds of Venezuelan migrants who the White House says are violent gang members. Judge James Boasberg says he wants specifics about when exactly the flights left U.S. airspace. The president calling for the impeachment of Boasberg. And now, sources tell ABC News Elon Musk has been making maximum donations to the congressional campaigns of several Republicans who have publicly spoken out against Boasberg.
DOJ attorneys say they're considering invoking the state secrets privilege to deny the judge the information they're looking for. Happy spring. Don't let the weather fool you, astronomy says. It's definitely spring.
How do we know? Well, it's the vernal equinox. UWM Manfred Olson Planetarium Director Dr. Gene Crichton says it's all about the tilt of the Earth.
If the Earth was standing upright, then the path of the sun and that projection onto the sky would be exactly the same. But because we're tilted, they meet those 2 lines only twice a year.
Those 2 times a year mark the midway point of our days getting longer or shorter. We've still got more sunlight to look forward to. Debbie Laziga, WTMJ News.
Time for news about your money. Here's your WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Everything starts in the green today. Your Dow is up 91 points to 42,056. The S&P 500 is up 15 points to 5,691. And your NASDAQ is up 72 points to 17,823. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Outdoor Living Unlimited WTMJ News Time is 9:04.
It's time for you and that diamond to come alive again.
At the 4th annual Spring Ring Cleaning at Kessler's.
Even if you have a good ultrasonic jewelry cleaner, it can't match the pressurized steam cleaning we do at Kessler's.
Let us steam clean and polish your engagement ring.
For free.
I'm Joe Gerke, president of Kessler's, and we want to strip away all the soap scum that is making your diamond look dull.
For free. And while we're doing it, we'll inspect the prongs on your ring to make sure your diamond isn't about to fall out.
It's the 4th annual spring ring cleaning at Kessler's.
Here's another idea. Bring us anything you own that needs to be repaired.
And we'll give you a price to make it like new again.
And if you have some old jewelry you don't wear anymore,
We can make something unique and wonderful out of it.
unique in all the world.
Welcome to Kessler's.
To find the Kessler's nearest you, visit KesslersDiamonds.com.
A buck doesn't buy much unless you're spending it at Griffin. For just $1 over cost, you can buy brand new tires from us. This is Jim Griffin. Any major brand, $1 over our cost with free tire repair and lifetime rotation. We'll even show you the invoice to prove it. Our only requirements, we put them on for you. Buy one or the whole set. The dollar deal from Griffin. Milwaukee, Waukesha, Fort Atkinson, and Jefferson. Griffin. The buck stops here. The deals on tires don't. That's Griffin.
Not combinable with other tire offers.
Since 1964, we've changed your tires and so much more. Richland's Tire and Service, such a refreshing change. Richland's.
Are you tired of being tired? Go to adventknows.com.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update from the Gruber Law Office's One Call, That's All Sports Desk. The men's college basketball tournament begins today. 16 games, including the Wisconsin Badgers, who face the Montana Grizzlies in Denver with a 12:30 tip. Marquette takes on New Mexico on Friday in Cleveland. This college basketball tournament update is brought to you by Outdoor Living Unlimited, and Badger Sports Updates are sponsored by Siding Unlimited Siding and a whole lot more. And the Bucks are looking for a win in their Western road trip. Tonight they face the Lakers. Our coverage starts at 9 o'clock right here on WTMJ. Taking a look at your roads with your WTMJ Johnson & Sons Paving Time Saver Traffic. One issue to report, we're in the Kohler area. I-43 North, the ramp to Wisconsin 28 has a disabled vehicle on that ramp. Now, traffic is moving. It's just moving really slowly. Give them a wide berth as you're in that area. Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast today with a gradual clearing and afternoon sunshine, but it's going to be windy. Your high is 38 degrees, but those wind gusts can get up to 40 miles an hour. Tonight, mainly clear and cool, a low of 29. Partly and cloudy and windy for your Fridays. A chance of evening showers, a high of 54. Then it drops back down, mostly sunny and a high of 40 on Saturday. Cloudy with a chance of rain-snow mix on Sunday with a high of 46. And Monday, an early wintry mix and mostly cloudy, a high of 42. Right now in Madison, it's 28. In Waukesha, it's 30. In Green Bay, it's 30. And in Milwaukee, it's mostly cloudy and 31 degrees. I'm Tiff Pua. Outdoor Living Unlimited. WTMJ News Time is 9:08.
Good morning, Wisconsin. So let's pour that coffee and talk to some experts about what's going on in Milwaukee, Madison, Washington, and beyond. Broadcasting live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue in beautiful downtown Milwaukee. It's the Political Power Hour on WTMJ. Here's your host, Steve Scaffidi.
Should we talk about the government?
I say hell yeah to that. Lots going on in our governments, whether that's nationally. Here in Wisconsin, obviously big race coming up. I should say big election coming up on first Tuesday in April. Busy hour. We are scheduled momentarily to be joined by the chairman of the Wisconsin Democratic Party, Ben Wickler. For all those folks, save the text, by the way. For all those folks who say, where is the leader of the Republican Party? Well, if I'm correct, it's Brian Schimming. You're welcome to come on the show anytime you'd like. So just shoot me a text or an email, and we'll get you on as soon as we can. And then in the latter half of this hour of the program, Political Power Hour is what you're listening to currently or streaming. Mary Kuhnmensch, retired Milwaukee County judge, will join us, sort of hashing out some of the all of the cases, lawsuits, interesting stories related to the efforts of DOGE, or Doggy as I like to call it, Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk, endorsed by the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and where all those stories and lawsuits will be going. And ultimately, I guess the big question is, a lot of people asked me this yesterday on email and text, what's the Supreme Court going to do? And if, this is the biggest question, I'm going to ask Mary this question. If the Supreme Court says, you know what? No, you have to follow the law, and we have a division of separation of powers in this country. There are branches of government, and the Congress has power that the president doesn't have. Will this president, this administration, follow along with that decision, that ruling, if it goes against him? And I'm not saying it will, but we'll ask Mary that question as well. Some of the things on people's minds as I'm sorting through all the emails and texts from the last few days is what's going to happen in this election? And it's a fair question. Like, none of us know. This is a close election if you're talking about whether it's the Department of Public Instruction superintendent position, Jill Underley, the current resident of that office, or Brittany Kinzer, who was on the program Monday. If you missed that interview, check it out. Great conversation. It's available on our podcast page or wherever you get your podcasts. Or, of course, the Supreme Court race. And yesterday, on a great program here on the Political Power Hour, we had both candidates, Waukesha County Judge Brad Schimmel and from Dane County, Susan Crawford. They were on our broadcast yesterday. We asked them all the questions that we needed to ask them. So that's sort of the hour today as we sort of look ahead. We may go to break early here just to get ourselves set up so we can jump right into the conversation with Ben Wickler, as I said, chairman of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. Let's do this. We'll take a break. Lots more to get to in this busy hour of the program on this Thursday. Chilly morning out there, but we're warming it up in here. Thanks for taking the time to join us. Lots more coming up after this on 620 WTMJ.
This is Libby Collins. This week on WTMJ Conversations, we talk with Ryan Jay, who's one of America's most popular and respected syndicated entertainment critics.
I heard everybody yelling, Ryan, Ryan, Ryan. I just got swept up in the moment of it, and I turned around and nosedived into the chest of Ryan Gosling. And all I could think of to say was, my name's Ryan, too.
WTMJ Conversations, Sunday mornings at 11 on WTMJ.
Hey, this is WTMJ's Steve Scaffidi for Annex Wealth Management. Annex Wealth Management, a clear choice when clear thinking and advice from a fee-only fiduciary is needed and necessary. It's time for an investment retirement plan built by the fee-only fiduciaries of Annex Wealth Management. Knowing where you are and where you can go is important. Annex will help you set actual goals. Head to annexwealth.com, click the now famous Get Started button. Plus, Annex isn't going to push commission products at you. Annex makes it so convenient. They can handle every aspect: retirement investment planning, tax planning, estate planning. One stop, 8 convenient locations for in-person meetings or virtual meetings via Zoom. I've done it both ways. They work fantastic. Their team, Annex, will meet you on your way to retirement. The retirement you desire, by the way. There's Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, and Annex Ignite. There's a significant difference between financial advisors. Know the difference. Start at annexwealth.com.
It's Gina Della. You've heard me define what makes Pella Windows and Doors different. Let me introduce you to the woman behind the billboards, commercials, and share my extraordinary journey of resilience, reinvention, and shattering glass ceilings every Saturday morning at 6:30 on 620 WTMJ and anywhere you stream podcasts for What's the Difference with Gina Della to discuss business coaching across all industries, featuring successful executives, entrepreneurs, and mentors along the way. This is a story you won't want to miss.
All right, I got him in the saddle now. Ben Wickler, chairman of the Wisconsin Democratic Party. Always great to see you, my friend.
Great to be with you, Steve.
All right, let's get into it. I've asked you this question a bunch of times. Give me, you can start with Wisconsin, talk about nationally, the state of the Democratic Party. You lead the state party here. Where are we at?
Here in Wisconsin, Democrats are united. We're fired up. We're fighting back. We have more grassroots energy than I think I've ever seen. We've, at this point, more than doubled.
Tell me what that means.
Yeah.
More grassroots energy. How are you seeing that? Well, how is that manifesting?
Well, on Tuesday night, we had 900 people in Eau Claire at a town hall with Governor Walz in our People versus Musk town hall series about Susan Crawford's campaign versus Brad Schimmel, Elon Musk trying to buy a state Supreme Court seat, and people are coming out of the woodwork to help to make sure that Susan Crawford wins. In our volunteer numbers, we have more than doubled. We're like 260% the level of door knocks, of phone calls, of people helping out to try to make sure we win the Supreme Court race compared to 2023 when we broke records. In our polling, we find Democrats are furious about what's happening. And at the same time, we see in Wisconsin what we see nationwide. Democrats feel like someone needs to do something to stop the attacks that Republicans are doing, and they want Democrats to fight harder and more visibly. And that is where the kind of friction is at this moment.
You used the term furious.
Yes.
Maybe angry about what happened in the last election in November. I'm assuming that's what you're referring to.
Well, it's that, but it's what's happening right now. The sense that we're in a constitutional
actions
crisis.
of Doge and all those things, actions of the president.
Yeah.
All right, so simple question. Can Democrats take that anger, that attitude of being furious about politics, and match that to a turnout that it can actually significantly impact this election?
Well, that is the
$1 million question.
At this point, probably it's going to get like something $100 million, billion, trillions of dollar question. That is exactly the question. And that, as the party, it is our job to make crystal clear to people that if they turn out and they volunteer, they donate, they get involved, and actually, elect Democrats, elect people Democrats endorse, and defeat Republicans, then we'll be able to generate real change in their lives. Because the thing that everyone's still struggling with a cost of living that's out of control, and the feeling that freedoms and rights are being eroded and ripped apart, that Social Security is under attack, the Veterans Administration. What people want from Democrats is for Democrats to fight back on things that affect almost everybody, that are shared fundamental principles about what this country is about. They want to see Democrats fighting on those things, and they're terrified about the sense that the floor is being ripped out beneath them, healthcare being shredded, Veterans Administration, the Postal Service, cancer research being defunded, all these things that Republicans are doing, Social Security most of all. They want to know that Democrats will actually fight with everything they've got for the things that should be at the heart of a bipartisan agreement about what undergirds the basis for people's lives.
Let's separate it out.
Yeah.
I'll use the term gas and groceries. A lot of people use that in the election. I asked my Republican friends about, okay, does the president now own this issue because he is in that office? He has said we wouldn't have massive inflation. He actually threw out the R word, or at least responded to a question and threw out the R word a couple weeks ago. Do you see this as an issue that Democrats, who you represent, could use as a catalyst to get a turnout impact?
I think that people think about the Supreme Court, and they think about things that they know the Supreme Court affects. So whether we have this abortion ban, whether there's a check or balance on the executive branch, questions around public safety and criminal justice, the economy is terrible in the sense of prices keep going up, and Trump is making it actively worse, and it now does. There's a real risk that we're tipping into a completely needless recession because of Trump's chaos and his tariff trade war and these policies that make no sense whatsoever. I think that will help drive Democratic turnout over the next 4 years. I think in this election, there's especially these questions around whether the Supreme Court should be bought and paid for by the world's richest man who's trying to shred Social Security and the VA in real time right now.
I've had this conversation with you before, but we're going to bring it up again because I can see the text line. I can see what people are going to ask me because they always do. When you mention Elon Musk or those billionaires that help Republicans, Uihleins, those folks, how come you never mention the Soroses and other groups that also fund Democrats? Now, they do it in a different way. Typically, they funnel it through the Democratic Party. Is that correct?
We get donations from donors of all sizes. That's absolutely true. Elon Musk is in a category by himself for two reasons.
How so?
One is that he has now put in $13.2 million, which is more than 6 times as much as any other donor, as far as we can tell, in this election, multiple times larger than any donor has ever put into any judicial election in the history of Wisconsin. We think more than anywhere in the country. At the same time as he has his own cases affecting his own bottom line going through the Wisconsin court system and is trying to trample the Constitution and dismantle key things that people rely on like Social Security nationally. So he is simultaneously a person who needs to be checked because he's breaking the law nationally and in Wisconsin, and someone who has his own court case that's affecting his own bottom line.
How is he breaking the law?
He is breaking the law by disobeying the mandate of Congress, by dismantling the programs that were mandated by.
It's a fundamental question the Supreme Court's going to have to answer at some point.
Absolutely. So if he breaks Wisconsin law, like for example, he is running ads through something called Progress 2028 that has not filed as anything that's doing political work has to do. He's not filed a disclosure report for this cutout group that's pretending to be a left-wing group that is trying to get Republican turnout higher to oppose Susan Crawford. He is breaking Wisconsin law with that. A group has filed a legal complaint against him. He wants to make sure that the Supreme Court is bought and paid for by him. He was saying before the presidential election that if he lost, he would go to jail. I don't know what all federal laws he broke in the last campaign, but he believes that he owns the American government now. And this is a government that belongs to the people of the United States, not to any far-right billionaire or anyone else on either side.
When we talked to the candidates on the program yesterday, Brad Schimmel and Susan Crawford, both judges, one day and one Waukesha, We asked them about funding. Both pretty much said they don't like the fact that millions and millions of dollars are pouring in from big donors. But the bottom line is they both sides take the money. And I don't know how you get out of that issue or out of that problem if you're still taking the money.
The Democratic Party of Wisconsin, it's in our platform, campaign finance reform. I don't believe in unilateral disarmament, but I would love to kick big money out of politics. It just can't be one side saying, okay, you can welcome as much money as you want from the world's richest man, and we're just going to roll over and take it. That doesn't work. But I would love for Robin Vos to come in here and commit to bipartisan campaign finance reform. We had that with McCain-Feingold. That was overturned with Citizens United, which is the basis for all of this flood of money that we're seeing right now. It was the Brad Schimmels and Scott Walkers and Robin Vosses of the world that changed Wisconsin campaign finance law to allow all this money to flood in. And the only way to change it, as far as I can see, is for Democrats to win enough elections to be able to change campaign finance law in the state, which is something we urgently need. What we cannot do is allow the world's richest man to buy Wisconsin's Supreme Court so that Elon Musk can get away with whatever he wants in this state and nationwide.
He said yesterday he might not be the richest man anymore. He said some governmental leaders from some countries around the world may have him surpassed. And he might be right, actually. All right. We got one more segment with Ben Wickler, chairman of the Wisconsin Democratic Party. I'm going to ask you some national questions because you do a lot of national TV, maybe international TV for all I know. Are you doing international spots now?
I've been on BBC because some Americans watch BBC.
Hey, I've been on BBC. That's not that big a deal anymore. Ben Wickler, continuing the conversation after this on 620 WTMJ.
Whatever you want to call this season, we're over it. Time to look forward to...
Fly ball, right field. It is deep. It is gone!
Spring training is finally here and back on the radio.
Freelick, high drive, deep right, way back. Noel's going to be a spectator on that one.
Make sure to catch our next spring training broadcast as the Brewers take on the Diamondbacks. Friday night at 8. No matter the season, we are the home of the Brewers. WTMJ.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scaffidi. I love talking about Milwaukee weight loss because they changed my life in the last 2 months. 35 pounds down today, actually 35.6, I think it was. Look, it's the secret to losing up to 1 pound of fat a day. Their doctors have developed easy-to-follow weight loss program. It helps you lose weight fast, naturally, safely. No drugs, no injections, no serious side effects, none of the prepackaged meals or bars or shakes. If you don't want to exercise, you don't have to exercise. I do walking every day. That's my thing. Their program helps reset your metabolism so you can keep the weight off for good. I'm signed up for a year, so I'm going to maintain this weight, whatever my lowest weight will be. Their program costs up to half as much and works up to twice as fast as other programs. Go to MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com. Most patients, 20 to 30-pound weight loss. I'm a success story. You can be too. Call 262-449-1180. That's 262-449-1180. Or go online at MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com. MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com. Results may vary.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
This is Brian Wickert, owner of Wisconsin's own AccuNet Mortgage. I get that most home shoppers just go with their bank when it comes to getting pre-approved. But that's probably a mistake because banks have a lot of overhead, like branches, fancy headquarters, and layers of management. That means their closing costs are typically $1,000 to $3,000 higher than AccuNet's for exactly the same rate. And that's not all. Bank pre-approval letters are usually weak and unconvincing, especially compared to AccuNet's rock-solid, fully verified pre-approval that provides a $2,000 guarantee to you and the seller. Our senior loan consultants will also look at every possible way to strengthen your offer and pre-approval in the eyes of that seller, especially if you're offering over the asking price. We even call the listing agent to reinforce what a great buyer you are. Banks don't do all that. Click on the blue button today at AccuNet.com and let our passionate mortgage pros help you win while you save a bunch of money, too. That's ACCUNET.com.
No shortcuts, no compromises, just the job done right. At Exterior Pros, we don't just meet expectations, we crush them. Every nail, every window, every shingle is a step toward your home's next chapter. From the moment we start until that final reveal, we're committed to making your home better than ever. Quality products and craftsmanship you can count on. Go to the pros for your next project. Get started today and save $2,000. Visit extpros.com or call 262-800-4274. That's 262-800-4274. A few more minutes with my friend Ben Wickler, chairman of the Wisconsin Democratic Party. Always appreciate his wisdom. When he comes to the studio, he represents the Democrats of the state of Wisconsin nationally. So much conversation. I'm going to spend some time in the next half hour with Mary Kuhnmensch talking about this. The president sort of pushing the envelope when it comes to presidential power. Now, emboldened perhaps by what happened before he was elected for the second time, by what the Supreme Court said to him. And I think he's trying to say, and this is me trying to put myself in the mind of Donald Trump, which could be a dangerous enterprise, that the president has almost ultimate unchecked power. You're a Democrat. You see this happening. We're certainly going to have lawsuits, and that's what we're going to talk about the next half hour. Give me the Democratic response to this.
We don't have kings in the United States of America. We fought a revolution to not have kings. And the idea in this country is that we swear an oath not to the president, but to the Constitution of the United States. The president swears an oath to the Constitution, members of Congress, members of the judiciary, members of our armed forces. Everybody swears fealty not to a person, but to the Constitution and the governing idea of this country, which has checks and balances. The people are the sovereign, not the president, not any individual. And that's fundamental. That is why people fight and die on foreign swords to defend our freedom. The freedom comes from the idea that the people ultimately rule. And that means that when Congress passes a law, the president has taken an oath to faithfully execute those laws. When the Supreme Court says the president is out of bounds, it is the Supreme Court's authority to say what the law says about what the president's powers are. And Trump is just trampling all over that. And that is a pretty profound crisis, no matter what your politics are.
Do you think the president of the United States, and this is an if the Supreme Court rules against the president, some of the things that he's done, some of the cases that we're going to be talking about in the next half hour, if he decides to not follow those decisions, what comes of that? What happens next in that storyline?
If the president disobeys, if he breaks his fundamental oath to this country by disobeying rulings of the United States Supreme Court, then he should resign. And if he doesn't resign, he should be impeached and removed from office.
Do you think Republicans in Congress would be brave enough to push that if he doesn't follow those decisions?
So what we've seen so far is that Republicans in Congress who are privately aghast at what they're seeing are doing nothing publicly. And I think that part of that is that they're terrified that Elon Musk will fund a primary challenge, that Trump will campaign in their districts and get them thrown out of office so they'll lose office. And I think there's a kind of look in the mirror moment. If you have a president who defies the laws and Constitution of the United States, if he can't be held accountable, then we don't really have a democracy or a country anymore in the way that we've grown up fighting for and working for. This goes beyond politics. And to me, the job of Democrats in this moment is to make crystal clear what the stakes are and reach a point where politically it's actually safer to do the right thing than it is to do something that you know in your heart is wrong.
Whenever I talk about the president, Donald Trump, people say, this is what Americans elected. Therefore, let him do the things that they elected him for. Your response?
Well, fundamentally, if you look at polls, people elected Donald Trump to bring down the cost of eggs, to bring down the cost of groceries and gas and make it more affordable to live in this country. You ask people who switched sides, you ask people who voted for Democrats and didn't vote this time, it is overwhelmingly over and over and over and over about the cost of living. And that is the one thing that Trump is not only not doing that he talked about on the campaign trail, but doing the opposite. He's driving prices up. He's putting on tariffs that are going to make everything in our lives more expensive. So this is not what people voted for. He is in fact punching his own voters and voters across the country in the face every day in order to enrich himself and his backers and amass more power. So the idea that this is what people wanted, it is preposterous, and that should never hold people back from doing the thing that they have taken an oath to do, which is to ensure that the Constitution of the United States survives. This goes beyond the politics and the swinging back and forth of any moment. This is the fundamental idea of the United States of America, and this is something generations of Americans have gone to great lengths and sacrifice in order to defend.
Only got about a minute left. Early numbers suggest early voting is significantly up. Good news for Democrats?
We won't know who's voting until the ballots are counted. But look,
That's
want
why I'm
high
asking
turnout.
you.
Yeah. I think high turnout is important. I think there's enormous energy on the Democratic side. It's clear Musk is saying publicly, he released a memo today saying that Schimmel needs to hug Trump even more. He's posing in front of giant Trump statues. This is a referendum on Trump and Elon Musk at the same time as it's a choice between Susan Crawford and Brad Schimmel. And if anyone listening right now thinks that we should be a country without kings, where the people are the sovereign, they should vote for Susan Crawford because Brad Schimmel has sold his political soul for power.
All right, 10 seconds. Governor Evers going to run again?
I hope he runs. He's a tremendous governor. He's going to make his decision, and we'll support him whatever he decides to do.
You missed the opportunity to make some news there.
Ben Wickler, always appreciate you coming by. We'll do it again down the road.
Thanks so much, Steve.
All right, we got lots more to get to. My friend Mary Kuhnmensch, retired Milwaukee County judge, lots to talk about. We're just talking about some of the implications of the DOJ efforts and the challenges, lawsuits. There will be lawyers, there will be lawsuits, and they're certainly taking front and center stage on our conversation. So local news with Tiff Pua. Before we get to any of that, here's now the latest from ABC News.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. President Trump planning to sign an executive order today that would call for the shutdown of the U.S. Department of Education. Here's ABC's Rachel Scott.
The Department of Education does oversee funding to help low-income students and students with disabilities. It enforces civil rights laws to prevent discrimination in schools. It also oversees the process for students applying for college financial aid at a federal level. Now, the administration insists that none of those programs are going to be impacted, but it is unclear how. And we are learning that today there are multiple protests popping up across the country, with some teachers very concerned that their students are going to pay the price.
The Trump administration also said to be planning to designate a swath of land where the military would be granted new authority to hold migrants who have crossed the border from Mexico. The Israeli military says it'll no longer allow Palestinians to enter northern Gaza from the south. A blockade has been reestablished. Airstrikes over the Strip overnight killed more than 85 Palestinians. This is ABC News.
Outdoor Living Unlimited WTMJ News Time is 9:31. I'm Tiff Pua. A man has been declared AWOL from the Dane County Jail Diversion Program. Anthony Gilbert was reported that way Wednesday afternoon and was last seen in the area of Mallard Lane in Madison. He's serving a sentence for obstruction and possession of methamphetamine. There is a warrant out for Gilbert's arrest. A former priest in western Wisconsin is accused of sex crimes is avoiding trial by pleading no contest. A therapist alleges Travis Becknell of Sparta touched her inappropriately on 2 occasions after church revivals, and because of his position as a pastor, she was not comfortable telling him to stop. Under the terms of the plea deal, Becknell must serve 100 hours of community service or face 30 months in prison. And wrapping up lead removal efforts at 2 Milwaukee public schools. Both Golda Meir Lower Campus and Maryland Avenue Montessori have passed their clearance checks for lead dust and need no more remediation. The Milwaukee Health Department is continuing to work with MPS on removing lead dust from 12 other schools and developing a rolling inspection schedule to assess schools across the district systematically. Starms Early Childhood Center, Fernwood Montessori, and La Follette School remain closed as lead cleanup continues there. Time for news about your money. Here's your WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Everything continues to stay in the green today. The Dow is up 193 points to 42,159. The S&P 500 is up 24 points to 5,700. And the NASDAQ is up 105 points to 17,856. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Taking a look at your roads with your WTMJ Johnson & Sons paving time saver traffic. No incidents or issues to report, and everything at full freeway speeds. Everyone stay safe out there. Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast today. Gradual clearing with afternoon sunshine. It's gonna be windy. A high of 38, but those wind gusts get up to 40 miles an hour. Tonight, mainly clear and cool with a low of 29. The warm day this weekend, Friday, partly cloudy and windy with a chance of evening showers, but that high is 54 degrees. Then it starts to drop down on Saturday, mostly sunny, but 40. And your Sunday, cloudy with a chance of rain, wintry mix, a high of 46. For your Monday, an early wintry mix and mostly cloudy, a high of 42. Right now in Muskego, it's 33. In Oconomowoc, it's 29. And in Milwaukee, mostly cloudy and 32 degrees. I'm Tiff Pua. Outdoor Living Unlimited WTMJ News Time is coming up on 9:34.
Don't think twice. Call Dice.
A great way to add value and curb appeal to your home is with a new LiftMaster or CHI maintenance-free garage door. Hey, it's WTMJ's Greg Matzik. A study by Remodelers Magazine reports that the average return on investment is an amazing 82%. Garage doors rank first among all home improvement projects. To see Geiss's huge selection of doors, visit their showroom in Brookfield, or you can also visit their online showroom at geissdoors.com. Geiss has everything from alley doors to custom wood designer doors and everything in between. Remember, for all your garage door needs, you call Geiss at 262-784-4250. That number again, 262-784-4250. It's Geiss. Visit them online at geissdoors.com.
Don't think twice. Call Dice.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Thanks to Ben Winkler, chairman of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, for the first half hour. And don't forget, open invitation, Brian Schimming for the Republicans, anytime. I was going to say any place, but it's got to be in the studio here. So welcome to have that conversation. It's the one difference. I know people get sick of me saying this, but you can listen to any other station you want to, and that's your right. But you're not going to hear both sides of the story. You're going to hear one side on most of those stations. And if that's your thing, have fun with that, but it's sort of a one-sided look at everything, which I've never been a big fan of. All right, you heard her laugh there. Mary Kuhnmensch, retired Milwaukee County judge. Always fun to talk to Mary. Already getting fan emails and texts. Enough with that. Where's my love? That's what I'm going to ask you. Come on, Mary.
Oh, that's my family doing me a favor,
I
think.
guess.
The boys are out in full force today.
I want to start with the big picture question. We know that the Department of Government Efficiency, known as DOGE, is certainly causing havoc and chaos amongst the government of the United States. And it's impacting people across the country in a lot of different ways. I don't necessarily want you to weigh in the politics of it, but I want the legal aspect of this. Does this office, DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk, endorsed by the President of the United States, are they breaking laws, the law of the land, or at the minimum, sort of shattering the sort of separation of powers of our federal government?
Well, Steve, I would say that based on the number of lawsuits that have been filed, and we're talking at least 11 on privacy issues and data issues, data release of personal information of millions of Americans, including us, you and I, and everybody else listening. And then the ones that I think are the ones that pose the constitutional question that you're sort of asking, which is this allowed? I mean, is he a volunteer? Is he a paid employee? Is he civil service? Is he a cabinet member? What is he?
I don't think it's defined.
And they're purposely doing that, I think, loosey-goosey, calling him different things. He's just, here's this guy who's really busy and he's got all these businesses and he's doing this out of the goodness of his heart. Nonsense. Talking about critical thinking, and just want to follow up on something you introduced the segment on, and that is, you're going to hear both sides of the story on this station, and that's what we need because it allows for critical thinking, which is absolutely essential. So part of critical thinking in this issue, from my perspective, is always ask, well, what's in it for him? Is he doing it out of the goodness of our heart? Are you going to buy that hook, line, and sinker?
Any conflict of interest?
Are there conflicts of interest? And on the surface, those should be examined. And we haven't even had a process, what we normally call a vetting process, to determine if he does have those kinds of issues. And that would be done by the Congress. And how would it be done? It would be done, and by the Senate. It would be done through what we call the appointment process. So let me back up for just a moment, Steve. There's two real significant categories of lawsuits that are being brought. There are 11 lawsuits alone. Actually, they're up to 13 now, I think, because 2 more states have weighed in on basically a violation of the 1974 Privacy Act, which ironically was passed in the aftermath of Watergate,
right?
Because of people using in the government and in the administration, including the FBI director, J. Edgar Hoover, personal information. How does the government access that? Are they entitled to access it? Can they use it? Can they create an enemies list and use that data against us? And the Privacy Act was created in 1974 to say, no, you can't. There's certain limitations on that. I would say that act is being violated left and right now. And so there are all sorts of groups that are everyone from labor unions to private nonprofit groups that have an interest in how the government operates. What's interesting to me is who is not bringing any lawsuits.
And who is that?
The Justice Department, which would be, looking into and investigating, are there any conflicts of interest? There's a division, there was, emphasis on was, a division in the Justice Department, Steve, called the Public Integrity Unit. That unit has been completely disbanded. There are no more Justice Department attorneys in it. It doesn't exist. It's been eliminated. And so they investigated. Those were the lawyers in that very large division. They have an environmental division. They have a criminal prosecution unit. They have all sorts of divisions within the Justice Department. That was the Public Integrity Unit. It is completely gone. That should concern Americans because that's the group that is charged with investigating complaints about misconduct in office. And so that's gone away. So basically, they have carte blanche to do whatever they want because nobody in the Justice Department is going to prosecute them. The other group that is responsible for looking in and bringing charges because they have the power of the subpoena is Congress. Where is Congress in all of this? Where are the subpoenas? Both sides of the aisle can do that. And it's very disappointing to me that our Article 1 Congress, our congressional members in both the Senate and the House, are woefully sitting on their hands and not, and are choosing at least one half of the Republican Party, as far as I can tell, and many Democrats sitting on their hands and not exercising the powers that they do have, and which are plenty, which is to investigate and to challenge appointments to these different cabinet positions, or to say that this person isn't even going through the appointment process, which is the second category of lawsuits that are more tied to the Constitution and are more significant. We can touch on that a little bit more after the break.
Yeah, let's get to that because the Supreme Court ultimately is going to, I think, decide all of these things.
Absolutely.
Mary Kuhnmensch, retired Milwaukee County judge, who joins me often on Thursdays, sort of the legal edition of the Political Power Hour. You're listening, of course, to 620 WTMJ.
Are you over 18 years old, over 280 pounds, and interested in participating in a clinical research study? If so, you may be eligible to participate in a research study involving MRI scanning. You may qualify to participate if you are 18 years of age or older and not employed by GE Healthcare, are able to hear and understand English, are over 280 pounds, are not pregnant, do not have any tattoos or permanent makeup, have no implants with the exception of permanent orthodontic retainers and breast implants. Pierre O'Godden is a principal investigator for the study being held at 3200 North Grandview Boulevard in Waukesha. Study scans are investigational, and the use of these devices has not been cleared by the FDA. The study is not being performed for diagnostic purposes and is not intended to replace your medical care. Your appointment will last up to 4 hours, and for your time and travel to GE Healthcare in Waukesha, you'll be offered a gift card valued at $80 per appointment at GE Healthcare's MRI facility. To learn more, please call GE Healthcare at 262-312-7855. Again, that's 262-312-7855.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Let's take your inside living outside. Outdoor Living Unlimited puts cool stuff in your yard. Patios, decks, pergolas, outdoor kitchens, screen rooms, even in-ground pools. You dream it, we design it together, then Outdoor Living Unlimited installs it for you. OutdoorLivingUnlimited.com.
Are you looking for a new car or truck? Well, good news. Inventories have really improved lately, and I have a few ideas to help you find the vehicle of your dreams. I'm Jim Token, president of Adam, the Auto Dealers Association of Metro Milwaukee. The first step to getting that car of your dreams is to visit any of the 115 Adam member dealerships, where you can see their selection in person and take test drives. You can also find out about the new cars they have on order and reserve the one you want. Or if you really want to get the exact car you're dreaming of, they can order it for you. It might take a few weeks for delivery, but hey, wouldn't it be nice to have the perfect vehicle built just for you? This is your chance. Plus, if you're thinking of trading in your current car or ending your lease early, you'll be amazed at what dealers are offering. And if you prefer to handle the negotiations and paperwork remotely, no problem. Most Adam dealers will even bring cars to you for test drives. So don't wait. Start your search now. Find an Adam member dealer near you at adamm.com.
Retired Walker County Judge Mary Kuhn mentioned my guest this half hour. Chief Justice John Roberts, Mary, sort of scolded the administration and to the president.
Well, the president didn't seem to think so because he didn't mention his name.
Yeah.
So he's
Trust
playing,
me, I think he got scolded.
I think he got scolded.
But
too,
more
Steve.
importantly, does that signal anything about what the high court is thinking about all of these cases that are going to probably at some point, whether they're all combined or all separate, I have no idea. It depends on the legal issues I'm imagining. They're going to have to decide these things, and ultimately what their decision is sort of sets the course for the next 3+ years.
Well, let me answer it this way. Let me say this, that when I talk to friends and family and people out in the community and that are nervous right now, even those who are not, partisan to the extent of see no evil, talk no evil about my particular guy or my particular gal. Critical thinking requires that you analyze their good things and their bad things and be willing to say, even after I did the analysis, I still felt that this was the better choice. Too many people don't even do that, and that's absolutely essential in democracy. But putting that aside, what you have is you've got one branch of the government that is doing everything they can, and he's not the only president that has gone up to that line and not crossed over. I mean, FDR, who was a hero to my parents, they thought he was a god. They led him through the Great Depression, led him through a world war. But he even had his flaws. The internment camps were a blemish on our history. Now, you've got somebody who is willing to take it right up to the line because he's been allowed to. In every state court or court that he's been in, he challenges all the way. When he crosses the line, somebody has to hold him accountable. And what we're seeing is that Congress, and I think one of your listeners is either texted or something, their opinion that, well, that's their right. Congress doesn't have to do it. No, they actually do. It's called their Article I responsibilities. They are oversight. They have the power of impeachment. They have the powers of the purse. They are supposed to exercise those requirements under Article I. What are your job duties? Think of your job duties, if you're a plumber. Think of what your job duties are if you're an electrician. You are required to do that if you're going to get paid. Well, it's the same thing with Congress. Our recourse as citizens, because Congress is the closest to us. They represent the people. We elect them. And if they're going to abdicate their responsibility because they don't think that they just don't want to or they don't think there's a need to, the way we address that as the citizens who they are supposed to be representing, we're paying them $165,000 to do something. And if they're not going to do it, they're going to sit on their hands. That's not their right. Our responsibility as citizens then is to not elect them going forward. So everyone is concerned because there seem to be no rails, because you've got a president who is challenging and taking it right to the line, which is, again, he's not the only one that has done that. And then you've got a Congress that is, willing to take their paycheck every 2 weeks but not do anything. So, why are they there? So what's happening is the third branch, Article 3, which gives the responsibilities of deciding what the Constitution means and what it means not. Marbury versus Madison. I've talked about that case before on your show, and without getting too wonky, it essentially stands for the purpose that John Marshall, the then Chief Justice of the United States, said, no, it's not Congress. President Jefferson, no, the Congress doesn't get to decide what the Constitution means or means not. The president doesn't get to decide that. It is the courts that decide. Under our Article 3 provision of the Constitution, we decide what the Constitution means and what it does not, and what the laws are and what has to be obeyed and followed. And so you see John Roberts starting to give a little bit of a history lesson, a civics lesson to our current president, saying in a gentle way, no, Mr. President, you don't have the authority to not follow the law of the land. And if you decide to go down that path, there are going to be consequences, and it's going to be a collision course between the president, the executive, and the and the Supreme Court, which came very close in 1973 when Judge Sirica told President Nixon, turn over those tapes. And he wasn't going to, and he was going to be held in contempt. He eventually did, minus 13 minutes. But this isn't, again, the first time that this has happened where we got a president who wants to be defiant. I think at the end of the day, Trump is smart enough to know that he's going to have to do what the Supreme Court ultimately tells him.
Real quick, 10 seconds, short answer. Do you think the high court will say to the president, you can't do this stuff? Some of this stuff.
I think the appointment process issue is going to become is the president in this, and Musk is the one who's the issue here. Has he been appointed? Is he a volunteer? Has he done what Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution says, that if you're going to appoint ambassadors or cabinet members or people like Musk, it has to go through the Senate for confirmation? I think that's going to come before the Supreme Court, and I think they're going to rule. I hope they rule that is that must be obeyed. That Musk can't just operate in this heatherland like he's just some guy off the street who's looking at everybody's data. You can't do that. And I think the other issue is the birthright issue. I believe the 14th Amendment gives the birthright issue and is well-settled law. I'm hoping that the Supreme Court takes that up and also rules in favor of us, which is that if you are born in this country, you are a citizen of this country.
After the break, closing arguments. That's next on 620 WTMJ.
Spanning the State with Kristen Bry.
I think most of us bemoan how much money has influenced politics. You can't avoid getting ads for the race, so it's harder to claim ignorance that you just didn't know that the election was happening when there is that much money to be reminding you all the time in every different medium. Hey, don't forget to vote.
And Brian Noonan.
If you never stand up to this kind of behavior, this kind of racist rhetoric, even if you're just with somebody and they make that comment, if you don't stand up and say something, you're complicit in that statement.
Only on WTMJ.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scaffidi for Advent. I love talking about Advent because they are a game changer as well. I used to snore incessantly and bothered my poor wife, Kathy. My bed partner, and whoever your bed partner is, they don't deserve to have that kind of a night's sleep or a bad night's sleep. I went to Advent, 30-minute visit. Walked through all my issues. They put me at ease. We did a really simple sleep study at home in my own bed. Bottom line is they fixed it for me. Mine was sinuses and nasal passages, very common problem. Everybody's different. They have different problems, different solutions, but that's a common one. And they fixed it for me. I no longer toss and turn. When I go to bed, basically I'm sleeping pretty quickly. I'm one of those people that can drink coffee and then fall asleep like 10 minutes later. That's me. Now, not everybody can do that, trust me. But sleeping through the whole night will make your life better, and you wake up feeling rested and refreshed. If you struggle like I used to, take the time to see how Advent can help you. To find out breathing well and sleeping well can make your nights better, go to adventknows.com and schedule an appointment today, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
Test Rested Beauty Rest Black Mattress at Steinhafels for your chance to win a dream Hawaiian vacation. Shop now and save up to $400 on Beauty Rest Black mattresses. Plus, get up to $300 in Steinhafels cash. Shop in-store or online at steinhafels.com.
The wait is over. Brewers baseball is back. Time to pick your Brewers games and get back to the ballpark for tailgate traditions and walk-off wins. Be here for opening day. Come back for the big games and the best giveaways. Where else would you want to be? Brewers tickets for the 2025 season are on sale now. That's opening day and every game, all summer long. Get on board for the show today. Grab your seats at brewers.com/ticket finder.
Hey, it's Jason Wilde for Excel Custom Decks. I'm the football guy, definitely not the outdoor home projects guy. So when it comes to things like deck building, Excel Custom Decks is the true go-to expert. Family owned and operated, Excel Custom Decks uses the finest materials and products and combines that with superior craftsmanship. If you want your outdoor area to shine this summer, contact Excel Custom Decks now. Whatever you dream up for that perfect deck, pergola, or outdoor kitchen, Rob and his family can build it. Excel Custom Decks, decking excellence by design. Visit excelcustomdecks.com today.
Accunet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 255368.
At Wisconsin's own Accunet Mortgage, our closing costs are typically $1,000 to $3,000 less than the banks or the mortgage guys with the Rocket for exactly the same rate. Find out how much you can save at accunet.com.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee. From the Annex Wealth Management Studios, this is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station. Now it's time for your closing arguments.
All right, retired Mulcahy Judge Mary Kuhn, your closing argument. You have the floor.
I think what I'd like your listeners to consider, particularly when you're evaluating judges and justice, right now, they are the third branch of government, which is judges. And I'm so proud that I was a judge and that I served my community for 21 years. And I'd like to think, Steve, that I did it with integrity and without being an ideologue. That is my word of the day. We have justices and I am friends with many conservative justices, but they're brilliant. They're on both the federal and the state level. I have some that are far more liberal in their views on certain social issues than I am. But what I appreciate about all of them is they are, to the T, not ideologues. Judges can't afford to be ideologues where you're tied to a particular political position, no matter what. Judges can't afford to be that way. Most of us, 97 to 98% of their cases at the state level and the federal level are resolved by the lowest court, which we call the trial courts. In Milwaukee, it's the Milwaukee County Circuit Court. That's who you go in front of. That's who you know as your judge. And we're not deciding anything political. We're deciding whether or not we're going to give you a jury trial or not. We're going to decide whether or not you're going to have custody or not custody of your kids. We're going to decide whether or not a company is liable for a variety of injuries to its employees. Those are the issues that come before courts, and they come in all different sizes and shapes, both at the federal and the state level. There's no room, no breathing air, in that balloon for ideologues, where you're making every decision. It has to run through a prism of what are my politics on this issue. First of all, we don't have the time to do that, and second of all, it's not relevant. It's not even close to being relevant to the issues that we decide as judges. And so when you're looking at Supreme Court which is deciding what the law is going to be or not be, interpreting it, and the Supreme Court of the United States or the Supreme Court of Wisconsin, you do not want ideologues. Is Brian Hagedorn a fantastic Supreme Court justice in Wisconsin, even though he's very, very conservative? Yes, he is, because he's bright and he's not an ideologue. Is Judge Mike Brennan, and Judge Diane Sykes, who were both my colleagues on the state court, and they're now on the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals for the federal system, a heartbeat away from the Supreme Court of the United States. Are they brilliant and conservative, more conservative than me? Yes. Are they ideologues? No. You don't want anyone judging your case through a political prism. You want them to look at it based on the facts and the law. That's what you should be deciding on when you elect people to be judges. And I hope that that's what you do when you analyze any of your votes for any candidate, whether it be a judge or a congressperson or a senator or a president. Are they telling the truth? Are they giving us the facts? Or is it just simply ideologue, political nonsense? We have too many serious issues, Steve. We have so many issues in this country right now. We can't afford to be ruled by ideologues.
Got to leave it there. Mary Kuhnmans, retired Milwaukee County judge. Big show tomorrow. Bill McCutcheon and Joseph Pecky. Whatever will we talk about? I don't know with those two. Thank you, Mary. We'll do it all again tomorrow. The news is next on 620 WTMJ.
I did all that.
WTMJ's Eric Bilstead here for QC Kinetics. I get a lot of questions about QC Kinetics treatments, people asking if they should consider it for their own joint pain.